In the past 7 weeks, there has been another layer to Friday festivity. For the 8th Friday in a row, we will understand why. Welcome back to PFL Tier 1 and welcome to the British Grand Prix on this Friday evening. Thank you so very much for your company. And ahead of us will hopefully be another wild and wondrous ride for the creme de la creme, the best of the bunch within the PFL racing division as we creep towards the season's end. Just 3 more races to go with our season finale at Interlagos in 2 weeks' time. But all eyes are cast upon the Silverstone circuit, which has very much been a fixture on the Formula One calendar nearly non-stop, since 1950. The first ever World Championship race took place at Silverstone in 1950, and despite the track's major reconfiguration since, we still return to a place that Formula One likes to call home. And it is the home race of many drivers. But we will get to that later. We're just letting some more drivers join us for the event ahead. So then, we currently have 12 drivers in the lobby. We'll see if we have any more. From the attendance check, we are expecting, I think, 2 more. But it may just be the one left. So, we have so much to uncover tonight. We're going to have a look at the championship standings, and there is a plausible chance that the championship leader is going to change by the end of this race for the first time this season. We also have battles brewing out in front for the Constructors' Championship. And we turn towards the latter stages of PFL's first ever season, and what a season it has been so far. So then, now we are down to 11 drivers, unfortunately. Hopefully we will get that driver back and have another one starting very shortly. But as our attention will very closely turn to the action ahead of us, we do have a few debutants tonight. We have Anthony Pro 2606 in the Haas. We have Eyes and Sit, and we are expecting 1 more. So we have Gatekeeper, who's just joined us. And then hopefully we're expecting 1 more. We're also expecting a driver mid-session, halfway through quali. So we have a decent turnout tonight. We've seen better, we've seen worse, most notably last week. But it's good to see that there is a few drivers coming out, a dozen drivers at least coming out for the Silverstone race tonight. So then, whilst we are in this, well, it feels like an interregnum right now, but whilst we are waiting for some other drivers to join us, let's just quickly look at the championship standings. And the battle for the championship lead bores on to round 8 of 10. Matt Zuvo, who missed last week's race, he misses tonight's race as well. We will definitely look forward to having him back. He sits at the top of the standings on 82 points, closely followed by Gupta on 72 points. So if Gupta takes 5th and the fastest lap, he will be the championship leader by the end of this event. Grace Worry is 25 points behind Matt Zuvo. Hydrant is 35 points behind Matt Zuvo. So too is Scofie. But you really feel that this championship battle is between Matt and Gupta. But of course, there is still 3 more rounds to enjoy some utter madness. Meanwhile, in the constructors' standings, AlphaTauri leads by 5 points ahead of Alpine. Now, of course, for the moment, we only have one Alpine driver at the moment. Revokes, though, driving for AlphaTauri, has won this season. So he has good form, and at least for AlphaTauri's hopes, will want to maintain that onto this Silverstone stage. Other shocks, at least in the constructors' standings, is Mercedes were last on 28 points. Now, we have no Mercedes drivers for the moment in the lobby, and it could be once more a tough and taxing and testing season for the Silver Arrows. And we will hope that that will come to an end, either through someone driving for them tonight or the final 2 rounds. Still waiting for 1 or 2 drivers. So then, the wait goes on for the start of the event. So Gatekeeper has just rejoined the server, and we will hopefully see soon if we can get this event underway. So we have 12 drivers in the lobby at the moment, with hopefully 1 more joining mid-session, and it seems like we are actually waiting for 1 more before the start of the session. So then we have 1 driver, just currently updating his Xbox Gold, and I think we may have been given the incentive to ready up. Right, so then, we are now, it seems, going to be underway here at Silverstone. So then, Formula One does turn to Silverstone for next week's Grand Prix, but on this PFL stage, we are about to foreshadow what to expect. And by the standards that this racing division has set in the past 7 weeks, we may be expecting a lot. Silverstone, that has written so many chapters throughout Formula One and motorsports history, is about to write one on the esports stage. PFL is ready to conquer the challenge that Silverstone presents. And what a ride it is going to be. Endure elation, endure excitement, endure exigence, and endure what PFL has to offer. So we have started the 18-minute qualifying session. No drivers out on track at the moment, so just testing out their setups, and then they will head out on track. Now, it also seems that the drivers know that this is going to be a wet, yes, a wet race. The English weather is typical of disappointment, but, well, expect utter mayhem. The drivers, though, are heading out on track, and they are being headed by, not Anthony, it Revokes in the Alpha Tauri. Revokes has been up and down in terms of qualifying so far this season. He's qualified inside the top 5 once. That was his first race of the season around Canada. But of course, as well, he has won a race and won around Zandvoort. So he proves that it is not about, I was going to say Saturdays, but we're enjoying a Friday night. It's not about qualifying the one mile, about getting that lap together. Now it seems like Matt Zuvo has joined us. So then we could have our 2 title contenders going wheel to wheel. Now that would be a welcome sight. But we'll just hold on and see if he does hop in. But the first driver to get us underway here at Silverstone is Revokes, who rounds Club Corner and heads down the Hamilton, yes, the Hamilton straight on towards Abbey Corner. He thrashes that Alpha Tauri, does Revokes, into Abbey Corner, and he's going to arrive to the loop section, the newest section of this Silverstone layout introduced for the 2010 British Grand Prix. Revokes struggling a little bit with the rear on exits, but he's now going to head down the Wellington Straight with DRS open and speeds climbing up and up and up. He throws the front end into Brooklands Corner and then Luffield. Every corner is a mesmerising piece of history here at Silverstone, which is cherished by fans and teams. But it's not going to be cherished by Anthony, whose first lap in qualifying has been thrown away. He finds the gravel off of the exit of Abbey Corner. That brings out the yellow flag, but in terms of terminal damage, no real harm done there to Anthony. But Revokes continues on. He completes the second sector and he makes the rage down the Hangar Straight. He's going to arrive at Stowe Corner, where we saw Michael Schumacher famously crash out in 1999. But Revokes not getting the line right through Stowe Corner, and that compromises him as his lap is thrown away. But now Gatekeeper is going to start a lap. There are a few drivers also on a lap, one being his teammate Harperwood. but afterwards has in fact invalidated his lap time, and nothing will come of this attempt. And then Gatekeeper throws that lap time away through the apex of Brooklyn's corner. Gupta then sets a provisional pole time of a 1:26.9. Pole position, or at least the qualifying king award in the 2021 British Grand Prix set by Lewis Hamilton, was a 1:26.1. So we've still got a little bit if we're going to challenge that lap time. But here comes Connor round the final few corners. Seems like Gupta's time has stood the test of time so far. Hydrant's Connor and Grace Warrior are over a second behind him. Rising sits in the Aston Martin then on his first qualifying lap, and he leaps up into third then ahead of Connor and Grace Warrior. That's a valiant attempt there from the Aston Martin, but he spins through Abbey. He replicates the troubles of Anthony earlier in the session, and Dyson Sit is going to hurt those tyres. And if that was a second attempt coming along, he has hurt that attempt as well. Silverstone is biting and biting. Fearless in the aggression that it throws at the drivers, but you cannot disparage it. Silverstone is a track to be respected. If you get one perceptible thing wrong, they have very drastic consequences. Is Theo then through the famous Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel corner complex. Didn't seem to really optimise the line through the exit of Beckett's and on towards Chapel, and that hurt him. Down the hanger straight, throws the car into Stowe corner, but he runs wide. A lot of understeer there in the Ferrari. He may want to amend that setup and get a bit more front end in. But here is Matt Zuvo, your championship leader, and it's utterly brilliant to have him back. In fact, he has not raced since Azerbaijan. It's his first race in 3. The championship leader wants to show his hand around Silverstone at his home event, and we do very much welcome him back with open arms. But seems like it's a bit too much curb through Maggots, and that sees an invalidated lap time. Theo, after his first lap was thrown away, he has gone for another attempt. Through Luffield he goes, and blasting past Woodcote and onto the old start-finish Drayton's Copse Corner then, where we saw Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen famously collide last year. Now we have Gatekeeper, who's the latest driver to bring out the yellow flags through the first couple of corners, but he manages to get out of Dummest Basket's way. Theo then comes through the middle sector. He's looking for his first representative lap time of this qualifying session. Is it going to be enough to trouble Gupta, who is imperious out in front in this qualifying session? No, it isn't, because Theo runs wide through Stowe corner, goes off the track limits, and that lap time, that attempt is not going to be recognised on the leaderboard. Vokes is on the lap, Matt Zuvo is on the lap, and let's ride on board then with Matt Zuvo. He's going to chuck his AlphaTauri car into Maggots. Beckett, so a little bit of understeer there on towards Beckett, and then Chapel, he comes through as well. Revokes then, is he able to slot his AlphaTauri onto the front row? He is. He's half a second behind Gupta, but with just under 10 minutes left, could Gupta have a competitor in this qualifying session? The Alpine driver has been utterly marvellous when it comes to one lap pace, and he has shown why he is a championship threat to Matt Zuvo, who by 1 millisecond slots in behind his teammates. Horridby then crosses the line for P4. Second, third and fourth separated by just a couple of tenths then. Dumbest Basket, the sister Red Bull to Horridby, is now on the lap. Let's see how he fares. He puts the power down through the loop section, past Aintree and onto the Wellington straight with DRS wide open. And towards Brooklands, where Mark Webber swept around the outside of Fernando Alonso to steal the race win in 2012. Before 2020, that was Red Bull's last victory at Silverstone. To this day, it's their last British Grand Prix victory at Silverstone. But could Dumbest Basket and Horridby change the team's British Grand Prix fortunes around? Well, with Horridby, he's up in fourth. That is a competitive lap time. Dumbest Basket, what can he do though? Seems like Anthony's not always on an out lap, so he's let past Dumbest Basket. But the Red Bull through the first two sectors, aggregate time of a 1:3.9. But through this final sector, so much can be gained, so much can be lost, and it is all lost for Dumbest Basket through Stowe Corner. He goes too wide, and the lap is over. Hydrant improving by 1/100th through the first sector. Let's see what comes of the rest of this lap. It's an improvement by 1/4 of a second. Could he trouble Horridby's occupation of P4? Hydrant, who has started from pole twice this season, he has failed to win in Tier 1. But for Williams, at their home fence, could things be about to change for him? He rounds Club Corner, and it is indeed P4 for Hydrant. He displaces Horridby. He leaps up to the second row on the grid. Connor now is on a lap. So too is Anthony. The Haas driver making his debut here at Silverstone in PFL. He is going to want to give it absolutely everything. It's a treat. It's just a treat to see these cars winding through the corners of Silverstone. Anthony wants to give it full beans and wants to exercise his potential here at Silverstone. Through the first couple of sectors, he is in relatively competitive running, but he's going to approach Stowe Corner now at speeds excess of 200 miles per hour. He manages to keep it within track limits, and he's going to approach the Vale chicane then. Through the final couple of corners, Anthony's first representative lap time of his time here in PFL brings him P5. That's a solid effort there from the Haas. Gupta now is on a lap as well. The provisional pole sitter is half a second clear of his nearest competitor, but he wants to strengthen his grip on pole position. He chucks that Alpine car into Copse Corner. He's now going to rage towards Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel. He'll put down the power. It's a permanent putting down of the power. And he's improving by 1.5 tenths through the first two sectors. What was a bedazzling first lap could get even more brilliant, even more blistering for the Alpine driver. He is opening the gates to Silverstone, and he is opening the gates to supremacy. He has been a joy to watch in the past few weeks. He has laid down his presence in this championship, and he extends his pole margin by 8.5 tenths. That was masterful from Gupta. Wow, that Alpine was just a blur, raging through the famous corners of Silverstone, and it's brought about a lap time of a 1:26.6. The rest definitely have some catching up to do, because Gupta has just been marvellous. Gatekeeper now up into P11. Theo is on a lap. Dumbest Basket is starting one. He has not set a representative lap time so far in this session. Let's see, is there anyone else? Grace Warrior improving by 2 tenths through the first sector. Eyes in sit. Through Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel as he puts down the power through the first 2 sectors. No, it's not an improvement for him. Horridby is on a lap now. Matsuvo is on a lap. Revoked is on a lap. With just 4 minutes to go, it looks like Gupta may just head the field. But what can Revokes do in response? It's not going to be enough, and you can see DRS has not been enabled down the start-finish straight. So Revokes is going to abort this attempt. Arborwood then through the first sector. He lies in P7. And this is a cool-down lap for him. Theo running in P9 in the Ferrari. He improves by 1/4 of a second through the first sector. If he can hook this lap up, P9 could turn into P7, possibly P6 as well. We will have to see. Always that's a problem there for Horrisby through Copse Corner. A mighty corner is one that may just be despised by Horrisby right now. The lap has been thrown away. Seems like an error through Copse Corner. Now it seems like Matsuvo is going to start possibly his final lap in qualifying. Down the Hamilton straight into Abbey Corner. Really getting that front end hooked in. Oh, it almost looked like he was going to lose the rear. We have yellow flagged out in sector 1, but Matt has passed that section. And he's now going to rage on towards the Wellington straight with DRS wide open. So Matt has taken some tyre life out of his tyres after going for a first attempt, but eventually pulling out of it. That may have cost him through the first sector, with a time 72 milliseconds down on his provisional best time. But through Copse Corner now, and he just about keeps it within track limits. He is throwing his AlphaTauri car through the corners of Silverstone. He is not giving an inch, and it may have just compromised him there through Beckett's and on towards Chapel. Yes, it did. 8.5 tenths down on his best time so far, and the championship leader, his lead is under threat here at Silverstone. So then, Hydrant. He is soon going to start his final lap in qualifying. Let's ride on board with the Williams through Club Corner onto the Hamilton straight. And just shy of 200 miles per hour, he rages on towards Abbey. Now then, the loop section, Village. Then we have the heart of the loop, the left-hander, getting the front end in and on towards Aintree. It's a smooth ride so far for Hydrant. He opens DRS, he's going to rage on towards Brooklands, and he improves by 1.5 tenths. Gupta has now started his final lap in qualifying. We'll still focus our attention on Hydrant, who's now coming past Woodcote and the old pit straights here at Silverstone. Chucks the car into Copse Corner. The rear end manages to comply. Then it's Maggots. Then it's Beckett's. Then it's Chapel. Oh, Matsuvo is now out of the session. I'd assume he's come into the garage. And I'd assume he hasn't actually crashed. But Hydrant through the first 2 sectors. This has not been the lap that he would have wished for. He currently sits in P4 on the second row of the grid, but he's not finding the improvement that others around him are. Through Club Corner. Now he loses the rear Hydrant. He manages to keep it pointing in the right direction, but his lap came to no improvement. Gupta, though, finding even more time through the middle sector. Revokes through the middle sector as well. He's finding 2 tenths. But the stage is Gupta's. That Alpine has been a blur through every single corner of Silverstone. He heads this qualifying session by 8.5 tenths. He's been on pole before in PFL, and he's surely going to be on pole again by nearly a second. A second. He is on pole position as Revokes, hunting for more lap time, goes for a spin through Club Corner. But it is Gupta, Lil Gupta, who has demonstrated his supreme, prodigious speed once more. Nobody could catch him. Nobody was even in sight of him. And Gupta, for the British Grand Prix, will lead the pack. Look at that lap time, a 1:26.559, nearly a second ahead of Revokes, with Matsuvo lining up in P3. But the two championship protagonists will line up first and third for the British Grand Prix, and boy, we are in for a treat. In fact, Revokes and Matsuvo, according to this leaderboard, set the exact same time to the nearest millisecond, and that could cost Matsuvo come the Grand Prix. Starting on the front row alongside Lil Gupta is going to give him a promising chance into turn one, but starting third, it makes that task a lot more difficult. But there is your qualifying order. Gupta on pole ahead of Revokes, Matsuvo, Hydrant, Anthony, Horridby, Theo, Grace Warrior, Arborwood, and Connor. So then, to all drivers, do not press ready up, please, just to give everyone some time before the start of the race to set their setups, as we believe it will be a wet race. So then, you can see the heavens have opened over Silverstone, and we have a fascinating race ahead of us. Do not go anywhere, because when we return, this British Grand Prix will be underway. So then, before the start of this event, I got in touch with Gupta, who starts this race from pole position, and Grace Warrior to uncover the myths, the troubles, the investment of interest behind Silverstone. First off, Grace Warrior. I asked him about whether the track favours high levels of downforce or more slippery cars down the straight. And he said that the track is very well balanced. We have high-speed corners requiring loads of downforce, but top speed is absolutely imperative still, particularly down the Wellington and Hangar Straight. You will want to optimise that top speed, otherwise you are going to be a sitting duck down the straight. And I also asked him, where does he believe the best overtaking opportunities are? Remember, the race will be wet, but he thinks that with his setup, his best overtaking chances will be into Brooklands at the end of the Wellington Straights and Stowe at the end of the Hangar Straight. So then, Silverstone, believed to be a well-balanced track, and you can understand that. The high-speed corners of Stowe, Copse, Maggots and Beckett's, also the slower speed loop section, Vale. There is a perfect balance of pure speed and not so much a lack of speed, but less of it. So then, the formation lap is underway and Gupta leads the pack. They are on full wet tyres as Keysboard goes for a spin down the pit straight at the start of this formation lap. That would have given him a bit of a scare. But our pole sitter, Gupta, also kindly responded to some messages and questions of mine. He said that Silverstone is a strong track, and that can very much be believed after that qualifying lap. He said it's traditional, a driver's track. It's tough to master, and it's old school in nature. Make a perceptible error, you're off track, particularly in the rain as well. You need to get the line right. You need to get the entry right, the apex right, the exit right, because you will drown before the mercy of the field. He said that there is a lot of time also to be found in the low speed corners through the low traction scenarios, particularly through the loop section at Farm and Village. But a lot can be lost down the straight if you don't get the exits right through the likes of Chapel, Aintree, even Club on towards the start-finish straight. So then, the drivers recognised the challenge of Silverstone. That will be embellished through the heavens above. Rain has tiptoed onto this Silverstone scene, and it is going to create drama, anarchy, and mastery. Get ready for yet another edition of PFL as Gupta fails to master even the formation lap. Is that a wake-up call? The conditions are treacherous. The challenges are immense. But who can master the most tricky, the most challenging of races? Gupta goes for a spin on the formation lap. This is going to be carnage. This is going to be crazy. And this is where championships are won and lost. Gupta starts this race from pole position. He will hope to lead the pack into Abbey Corner, but he has the heavens to fend off. He has the chasing pack to fend off. But boy, we are ready to what should be an epic race here at Silverstone. And here at the British Grand Prix, we are underway. Who can get the best start off the line? It looks like Revokes is going to give Gupta something to question, but Matsuvo is going to leap up into the lead. Matsuvo has absolutely aced the start in treacherous conditions, and we've had a crash. We've had multiple crashes and spins through the pack. That's Anthony, Eisenstint and Horridby all coming at Cropper, but Matsuvo leapt off the line. He rocketed into the lead, and Gupta's dominance in qualifying is being questioned, but Matsuvo not getting the best exits through the loop section, and Gupta steals back the lead. Brilliant racing between the two championship rivals. The AlphaTauri looks to the inside of Brooklands. He is not able to make an impression. But wow, what a start. Drama from the opening metres of this race. And while it seemed that Matt had the initiative, Gupta stole it back. Absolutely fantastic racing. The Alpine leads into Copse Corner ahead of the AlphaTauri of Matsuvo. Revokes in third, Theo in fourth, Hydrant in fifth. We have Horridby, Anthony, Eisenstint and Gatekeeper after their problems at the start. They are at the rear of the pack. And it seems like Gatekeeper is going to lose even more in relation to his opposition. He's just passing Luffield, while Gupta is heading on to Stowe Corner. On board then with Connor in his Alfa Romeo. He thinks about to move into Stowe Corner, but he thinks again and he slots in behind Grace Warrior. That's the battle for sixth place, and it's one that Grace Warrior has the upper hand with at the moment. It is Gupta that leads the pack then after this first treacherous lap around Silverstone. Matsuvo tiptoed into the lead, but Gupta came back as Theo then makes a move on Hydrant. The Ferrari progresses up into fourth, into the first corner. And the Williams is now the meat in a Ferrari sandwich. But let's see how the Williams comes back at Theo. The Ferrari really struggling on traction, and Hydrant has a plausible chance to get past. He's going to utilise the slipstream on towards Brooklands, but Theo just about holds that position as Grace Warrior and Connor ignite in battle. Grace Warrior takes the racing line. He forces Connor out of it, and it's a Ferrari still preserving that sixth, but Theo goes wide, and then Revoke spins as well. So then Revokes in the podium places, loses it in a few moments there, but Connor and Grace Warrior going side by side through Cops. Grace Warrior hanging it around the outside. Neither are willing to compromise in this epic battle. It's thundering racecraft, it's thundering conditions here at Silverstone, and we have one special spectacle ahead of us as Theo runs wide through Chapel and Dumbest Basket seizes that opportunity to progress up into 7th place. Wow, what a start. What a thrilling start we are enjoying here at Silverstone. And there's drama everywhere you look. Revokes. He faces dropping out of the points. Anthony is hunting him down. Through the exit of Stowe and on towards Vale. The Haas is going to dive down the inside. He's almost impossibly late on the brakes. But a moment of excellence there from the Haas sees him surge past Revokes. It was crafted with calculation. It was executed with exactness there from Anthony. And Revokes is now staring down the gearbox of the Haas. Is he able to come back at Anthony? He's losing touch with him on towards the loop section, and it seems like he's going to have to settle for 11th. But Gupta out in front leads by over 1 second. But rising on board with Connor, he looks to make an impression on Grace Warrior into Brooklands. It is as you were between these two. Grace Warrior preserving that 4th place. It's only just. Anthony strengthening his gap to Revokes. So these past couple of laps for the AlphaTauri have been the experience of hell. He was formerly running 3rd. He started this race from the front row. He's now outside of the points, but credit to all the drivers here at Silverstone. In the most treacherous of conditions, all 14 drivers that started this race still remain. You can see there on the leaderboard, the biggest winners from the start of this race. Grace Warrior started 8th, now 4th. Connor started 10th, now 5th. Arborwood gained 3 places compared to his starting place. Arborwood gained 3 places as well. Arborwood gained 3 places, and Dumbest Basket has risen up 6 places, while the likes of Revokes have sunk down 9 places. And after starting from the front row, he's down into 11th. So then, Grace Warrior is under real pressure from Connor. Of course, DRS is not in action, but Connor, hot in his pursuit of Grace Warrior's 4th place. The Ferrari and the Alfa Romeo igniting in battle. But it's who can get the best exit off of the loop section. One of those is not Dumbest Basket. He's dropped down into 9th after a minor excursion. And he drops behind Revokes and Eisensit as well. He's down into 12th. Wow, what a horrid moment there for the Red Bull. He drops out of the points in a very regrettable moment. But Connor is now having to defend from Arborwood then. It's pass or be passed here at Silverstone. Grace Warrior was in sight for Connor. Now Arborwood wants to prize that 5th place from the Alfa Romeo's grasp. Revokes is now hunting down Anthony on towards Maggots and Beckett's. Anthony preserves that 9th place for the moment, but in these treacherous conditions, an accident could literally happen anywhere. Anthony doing a solid job on debut. So too is Eisensit, but Revokes hunting down Anthony on towards Stowe Corner. No, he backs out of it. He wants to keep himself in contention in this race, and he's going to have to be sensible behind the Haas. Now, it's definitely noteworthy that the track is getting drier, but the race is not getting better for Dumbest Basket. His hopes in this race may lie upon getting the strategy absolutely on point, timing the switch to intermediate tyres and then possibly to dry tyres. We'll have to see how each of the drivers fare. Oh, that's a spin for Arborwood. Arborwood then, who was running in 6th place, goes for a spin, then loses the rear once more. And yet another driver coming at Cropper through the loop section. So then, Theo ahead of Horridby, but for how much longer is that going to stay true? Maybe for not too much longer, because Horridby gets the better exit off of Luffield. Down the old start-finish straight, the Red Bull surges ahead of Theo and promotes himself up into 6th, but gets a bit leery off of the exit of Cops Corner, and Theo says thank you very much. Horridby thought he had the move sorted, but a moment of misfortune off of the exit of Cops presented the opportunity for Theo to steal that 6th place back. The battle may not be over though, because Theo is within striking distance down the Hanger Straight, but into Stowe Corner, Horridby cannot make an impression. Gupta then is just over 3 seconds ahead of Matsuvo, but those two are romping away from Hydrant, who's 3rd, Grace Warrior, who's 4th, and Connor, who we are on board with, in 5th. Back to the battle between Theo and Horridby. It may just be time to go onto the intermediate tyres, and that thought is replicated by Arpwood, who's paying a visit to the pits. So then the McLaren switching then to intermediate tyres, it seems. And this could be a bold and brilliant strategy for the McLaren. Oh, Horridby looking to take the position off of Theo. The Ferrari preserves the places. Connor takes a place on Grace Warrior. Grace Warrior fights back, but Theo on towards Brooklands. Horridby wants to take the place, but he isn't able to get past at the moment. But as they lay down the throttle off the exits of Luffield, the Red Bull progresses, advances ahead of the Ferrari. And while one Ferrari preserves a place, the other loses one. So then Arborwood is going to need a sensible outlap if he is to really bring himself back into play. It seems like the intermediate tyres are the preferred choice now. The track is noticeably dried. But who chooses this moment to perfection? It seems like Hydrant is going to stay out on track as Grace Warrior and Connor pit, like Gupta and Matsuvo. And it's the choice by the majority then. They have their trust on the intermediate tyres. But is it going to pay off handsomely? Horridby down the straight ahead of Theo, but where are Gupta and Matsuvo going to come back out onto the track? Gupta, he's going to be behind Revokes. So then, as he looks to preserve a place ahead of one, he's going to have to hunt down another. But on the fresher and more suitable intermediate tyres, this may be easy picking for Gupta, who looks to the outside of the loop section. That is an audacious move, but is it going to pay off handsomely for the Alpine? It looks like that is going to be the case. Revokes does not want to concede in this battle, but as Gupta sweeps around the outside of Brooklands, it's a masterful move, utilising the potential in his intermediate tyres. That was absolutely brilliant, and you can see the tyres that you want to be on, they are the intermediates. Because you can see the wet, extreme wet runners are still struggling. And that's very much noticeable in this battle between Revokes and Matsuvo. An inter-team battle at AlphaTauri. Matsuvo, who started behind his teammate, looks like he's going to progress a pit stop ahead of him. And round the outside of Chapel, he makes that move stick. It looks like they have timed the switch of the intermediate tyres to absolute perfection. And the likes of Hydrant and Horridby are going to lose out. So then, the first pit stop in this race has been from the extreme wets to the intermediates. And it's a move that has been mastered by some and dejected by others. But in the battle for the lead, Gupta still preserves it by 3 seconds. But as you look at the battle between Horridby and between Grace Warrior and Connor, Hydrant just about re-emerges in P3, but Grace Warrior is giving him something to think about. It's a three-way battle for third. Keys Board still out on the wet tyres. So then the Haas driver placing his faith on perhaps a safety car, but it's an audacious strategy, and you can see it's really costing him through the exits of the loop section. He gives Horridby a tap, and Eisensit, who gets past the Haas, now wants to make it 2 places in a matter of moments. They're racing on towards Brooklands, the Aston Martin. Around the outside, is he able to make it stick? No, he isn't. The Red Bull is just about going to hold the racing line. But it's pedal to the metal off of the exit of Luffield, and Horridby struggles off of the apex. The Aston Martin spotting the tiniest of gaps to surge past the Red Bull and up into 7th place. Even in these tricky conditions here at Silverstone, the drivers are finding a way to exercise their potential, none more so than Gupta, who sets the fastest lap of the race out in front. But Keys Board, you can see he's really struggling with those soft compound tyres, with those wet compound tyres, and he's losing touch with the opposition. Revokes, oh what an exit, off Stowe corner, he looks for a gap down the inside of Vale. Can he assert his presence on the brakes? He can't. Thomas Basket keeps him at arm's length, but as they put down the power off of the exit of the Vale chicane, the Alpha Tauri progresses past. Some contact between the pair, Revokes does not mind that one bit. He's back up into the points, and he will want to really assert his place back in the points after starting from second. It is now a race revive, which is started by getting past the Red Bull. Oh, Theo going for a venture off-road, Revokes and Dumbest Basket blitz past him, and the Ferrari drops down into 11th. And here comes Connor on towards Copse Corner. He's going to chance a move around the outside. There's contact between the pair. Is the Alfa Romeo going to make it stick? He is. It was bold in its bravado, but it was gripped by aggression. And it has granted Connor a grand, glitzy, glorious move ahead of Grace Warrior. Back to the battle between Revokes and Dumbest Basket. Revokes still maintaining a gap, and he's strengthening his grip on 9th place. Lap 10 of 26 here at Silverstone. What a ride we have enjoyed so far. No race this season in PFL has tested drivers' ability and calculation more than this race. It's been a slog, it's been the ride from hell, particularly if you're Gupta, who was dominant in qualifying, but he's translated that dominance in qualifying onto the British Grand Prix proper, and he leads by nearly 5 seconds. You can see there, this corner just getting a little bit light, a little bit loose off the exit of Luffield. Drivers have been punished for minor errors in this race, and they will continue to be for the rest of this Grand Prix. Connor, who has not stood on the podium this season, his best finish in the race in Tier 1 is a P8, and he didn't finish that race. So this could be the best ride the Alfa Romeo will endure this season. Hopefully it is. And hopefully he can reach new heights, as he has been quite unlucky and quite unfortunate in races so far this season. But in the most testing of times, the most testing of races, Connor has risen to the occasion. He lies in 4th ahead of Race Warrior. As things stand, Little Gupta is going to eat into Matsuvo's championship lead. He will gain 8 points on Matsuvo, which will give the AlphaTauri driver a 2-point advantage on towards the penultimate race of the season. Oh, Race Warrior gets past Connor. Oh no, Connor's left the session. The commentators cursed in the cruelest of ways has struck Connor, who is driving his best race in PFL so far, as he's going to lose sync with Race Warrior and he's going to fall into the clutches of Anthony. Oh, what a shame for the Alfa Romeo driver. A real shame for him. Ferrari's Race Warrior is up into third and will look to trouble Hydrant's occupation of P3. But Connor, metre after metre, is falling into the clutches of Anthony. Connor has just rejoined the session, but will re-emerge behind Anthony, who at the last moment there passed the Alfa Romeo, but they're going to go side by side into Abbey. Oh, there's contact, and Connor goes for a spin. You could not have foreseen a more horrid last few laps for Connor, who's going to get passed by Revokes as well, the AlphaTauri, up into P8. And Connor making contact there with Anthony on towards Abbey corner, and 2 into 1 did not just go. Revokes ignited in battle with Connor. The Alfa Romeo looking to gain some positions in this race. He's going to look to the outside of Brooklands. He's going to brave it out. But Revokes holding that 8th place. But how does the Alfa Romeo fare on exit? Quite well, actually. He has a plausible chance of getting past into Copse corner. He's made contact with the driver already on this lap. He's going to look to the outside of Copse. He then puts down the power off of exit. That brings him a chance on towards Maggots and Beckett's. He is not surely going to chance a move into Maggots and Beckett's. He sensibly backs out of that move, but Dumbest Basket is lurking in the distance and wants a piece of the action. It's a 4-way battle for 8th, stretching down to Theo. It's a 3-way battle for 8th, sorry, with Connor right behind Revokes. But Dumbest Basket has an interest. He wants to get past as soon as is humanly possible. We are creeping towards half distance of this British Grand Prix. It's Gupta that still leads out in front. He leads by 6 seconds. Matsuvo, the championship leader, lies in 2nd place ahead of Hydrant's Race Warrior, Anthony, Eisensit, Horribly, Revokes, who's just aboard in front of Connor, who we are on board with. We're still in treacherous conditions here at Silverstone. A pre-race shower, and a shower that has prolonged into the present moment, has given the drivers something to overcome. But all 14 starters of this race still remain, and that's a testament to their supreme ability. Oh, you can see that Connor and Dumbest Basket encountering problems off of the exit of Luffield. Connor has exited this race. It looks like he has found the wall, and we have lost our first driver in this race. The yellow flags have been brought out. Doesn't seem like the safety car will be deployed. Wow. Just wow. Connor was enduring in elation. For the past couple of laps have been the most horrid, the most anguished laps the Alfa Romeo could ever imagine. He is out of this race and will not score any points here at Silverstone, and that is a terrific shame. Losing the rear through Luffield before Woodcote, and that spelled the end of Connor's British Grand Prix venture. Now, one thing that is, I think, worthy of mentioning is that the top two in this race, the two championship leaders in their home race, yes, their home race, have given us a tremendous show. And if a safety car was deployed, wow, what a battle we would have to the end of this race. But for the moment, we glare at their greatness, we thrill at their temptation, at their courage and their sensation. Born the race of champions, and they're both driven like champions in their attendance and their presence this season. And on lap 15 of 26, Gupta has the ultimate presence. He leads this race by just south and now just north of 7 seconds. Vokes has now earned himself a time penalty for track limits, but it doesn't seem like it's going to hint him too much, with the drivers behind also set to serve penalties. But here is Gupta through Copse Corner, 7.5 seconds ahead of Matt Zuvo. And the Alpine, as the track dries even more, he is mastering the conditions, he is mastering the challenges, and he is revelling in the potential that he possesses. But at long last, we have a battle on our hands, ladies and gentlemen. Grace Warrior just about ahead of Anthony. This is the battle for P4, and the Haas is inching ever closer to the Ferrari by the corner, and you can see Grace Warrior is really struggling. Anthony, in his debut race in PFL, is revelling in the conditions. Matt Zuvo is going to, I think he's going to pit to the dry tyres, so could he absolutely master the latest of challenges that Gupta faces? But Grace Warrior defending from the Haas of Anthony, but that defence is going to yield, I was going to say absolutely nothing, and it is nothing, because the Haas sweeps around the outside of Stowe, and that's a marvellous move as Grace Warrior now dives into the pits. Has the time come? Has the time come for dry tyres? If you get this right, you could win heaps of time. You could lose heaps of time. Wow, another layer of intrigue is to be invested here at Silverstone. Matt Zuvo exiting the pits. Let's see if this works. You can see Anthony giving him a tap there, and it seems like the intermediate tyres are still the way to go. Matt drops down into 4th, and he's really struggling on exit. He chanced to move to the dry tyres, and he has lost out horridly. The championship leader is sinking down the order as Anthony leaps up into 3rd. Eisensit is up to 4th, and Horridby, I was going to say, down the inside of Brooklands is up into 5th. Matt chanced the unthinkable. He chanced a moment which could have yielded utter sensation, but it's not going to work for him. And he's going to drop behind his teammate as well. That's such a shame for the championship leader. We may have to just relinquish the lead in the championship now, as Gupta is half a minute out in front. Matt's just struggling through every single corner. He can see his race hopes diminishing by the corner. Dumbest Basket is now in the clutches of Matt Zuvo's defence. But off of the exit of Stowe, It seems like Dumis Vasquez is going to promote himself up into 7th place. He utilises the superior intermediate tyres at this stage as Matsuvo tries to stick himself in contention, but it's just not going to work for him. Theo is now up into 8th. Matsuvo's down into 9th. This gatekeeper now pits as the track dries as well. It's about timing. Perfecting timing is the key to success here at Silverstone today. But the timing has eluded Matsuvo, who can see afterwards side by side with him, and now the McLaren ahead of him. Such a shame for Matsuvo. You can see Grace Warrior struggling as well. On lap 18 of 26 here at Silverstone, Gupta's comfortable lead turns into a serene one. He's half a minute out in front ahead of Hydrant. Still tracking the progress of Matsuvo. He seems to be gaining a little bit of temperature, but he's out of sync. He's lost out horribly. So then we have yellow flags through Sector 2, and Grace Warrior on those medium compound tyres has gone for a spin. Now Horrisby, is he the latest driver to chance to move to the dry tyres? Seems like he is. Yes, onto the soft tyres. Now they should give a lot better initial grip. But if the track is still too wet, all the advantages you can get from the soft compound tyre is just going to be nullified in an instant. He's going to come out in relatively close proximity to Matsuvo. In fact, the AlphaTauri Yessi actually progresses ahead. So Horrisby down into 10th. But on those soft compound tyres, Matsuvo's 9th place may be under threat. Gatekeeper on those soft tyres has gone for a spin, and these dry tyres are just not working. The McLaren is now last, while he is last of the runners. It looks like he will remain there, barring a moment of catastrophe for him. And he goes for another spin. Those tyres are going to be cooking now for Gatekeeper, who is going to be most probably 2 laps down on the race leader very, very shortly. But hang on a minute, DRS has been enabled. So then, Anthony, is he going to take the chance to pit? No, he isn't. Eisensit is. So then, the time has come for dry tyres. And Eisensit is taking the chance to pit. Let's see if it worked. It didn't work for Matsuvo, Horrisby, Grace Warrior or Gatekeeper. So then the Aston Martin pitting for the soft compound tyres. Revokes pitting as well. So too is Dumis Basket, Theo and Arborwood. Matsuvo, of course, on those dry tyres, stays out on track. But that may be little consolation for what he has lost in this race. So Eisensit is going to come out on track, and God, he's going to be side by side with Horrisby. The Red Bull just about ahead, but the Aston Martin is on younger tyres. He gets very close there to the Red Bull through the loop section, and he may pose a threat. DRS, of course, has now been enabled, but it may take a little bit of time for the dry tyres to get up to temperature. Gupta still out on track. He's braving it out still on the intermediate tyres. He gets caught out, it is catastrophe. Immense catastrophe for him as Arborwood, the latest McLaren to go for a spin off of the exit of the pit lane. So those tyres still relatively cold. But we have reached dry running here at Silverstone. We started in extreme wet conditions. We now look to the dry tyres as keyboards, bringing out the yellow flags as well. But here, Eisensit has DRS. In his debut race in PFL, he has shown the talent that he commands. But with it, he may just command 5th place in a few moments' time. Horridby is really under threat from the Aston Martin. But he still occupies that P5 through the Vale chicane as Hydrant re-emerges on track in 2nd place. Matsuva will be up into 3rd, but Anthony will be out on younger, softer tyres. Horridby now ahead of Eisensit, with Anthony out on track behind them both. So it doesn't seem like this pit stop phase has paid the Haas any favours. He's going to have to use the ultimate racecraft to battle past the Aston Martin, but Eisensit gets wide and then spins. He's going to touch the barriers. He touches the Armco, and what was formerly a battle for him amongst the podium pack turns into catastrophe for him. Gupta, though, now pits, but he is going to assume a mighty lead. You can see their dumbest basket not getting the grandest of exits. Oh, and now Grace Warrior as well, going for a spin as well. He may have just damaged his front wing. No, he hasn't. He has severely damaged his tyres as Theo and Dumbest Basket going side by side into Maggots and Beckett's. It was perilously close to cataclysmic contact, but the Ferrari surges past and now occupies 8th place with Dumbest Basket. He's not going to lose sight of that 8th place for too much longer. He's going to look to the inside of Stone Corner, side by side into one of the most glorious corners in the world. But Theo, with glorious racecraft in his arsenal, manages to keep Dumbest Basket at bay. A grand old battle. Almost reached boiling points, but Theo, using the richness of his racecraft to maintain place ahead of the Rebel as Grace Warrior, encounters yet more problems, this time through Copse, and does find the wall as well. But we are in the last few laps here at Silverstone. It will soon be 5 to go, with Gupta nearly half a minute out in front. But then as we look to the penalties being applied at the moment, it is Matsuva that will still take home a podium place. Oh, Anthony. He was on the fringes of dejection there. So then, Horridby is in touching distance of Anthony. The battle for P4 on the road. It seems like the Haas at the moment is going to keep the Red Bull at bay. He's going to lap his teammates. And indeed he does. Hydrant now sets the fastest lap of the race, 1:30.9. But it is still Gupta who commands an almighty lead. Anthony now is the latest driver to go purple. He now sets the fastest lap of the race. But Horridby is still in hot pursuit. Revokes in P6 ahead of Eisensit, who is flirting, teasing the rear of his car through Club Corner. Revokes, though, is still very much in sight, and this is the battle for P6. With just 5 laps to go here at Silverstone. So then, with DRS in action for Eisensit in the Aston Martin, he is hunting down Revokes. He edges ever closer to the Aston Martin on towards Brooklands, but on the brakes, still too far behind to really trouble the AlphaTauri's occupation of P6. Gupta now sets the fastest lap of the race out in front, a 1:29.5, but Hydrant is still running strong on these soft compound tyres, but not enough to seriously trouble Gupta's grip on the race lead. This race has been testament to the peerless skill of our PFL drivers. But now it is Eisensit's turn to test the skill of his racecraft. He darts down the inside of Stowe Corner, but revokes around the outside. Incredibly committed. And he keeps the Aston Martin at bay. Sublime, utterly sublime there from Revokes, who used everything in his racing arsenal to frustrate Theo that little bit more. Key's board has gone for another spin. And his misery in this race has just only been compounded. So then, Revokes v Eisensit, round 2. What a terrific battle brewing here between these two. The Aston Martin has an interest of P6. He's going to look to the outside of Brooklands. It looks like there was a bit of contact, but they're still going in side by side. While Revokes earns himself a time penalty, Eisensit is going to steal the place ahead of him. And he promotes himself then up into 6th place. And that may be game, set and match in that battle. Having said that, a DRS straight is coming up. And Revokes will want to assume possession of that 6th place. Oh, so close to contact there. He's eager to get on the throttle, is Revokes. He wants to assume the place ahead of the Aston Martin as soon as is humanly possible. And with the aid of DRS, he runs side by side with the Aston Martin and he blasts ahead going into Stowe Corner. This is proving tough, this is proving testing, this is proving taxing for the Aston Martin to really strengthen his grip on 6th place. But Revokes is not giving him an inch. Absolutely brilliant between the pair of them, and Horridby. He was running in 5th, he still remains 5th, but he's going to be in the clutches of Revokes' mercy. Horridby is going to damage his tyres with just 3 laps to go. And what was a comfortable grasp of P5 is now going to be relinquished as Revokes with DRS on towards Brooklands assumes the place, but Horridby coming back. They're going side by side. Horridby does not want to lose more than that he already has lost on this lap. They're going side by side again through Luffield and on towards Woodcote. Neither are willing to yield, neither are willing to compromise, but Horridby around the outside of Cops. And as he keeps it on the track, he wants to keep Revokes at arm's length still. They're going to continue this battle on towards Maggots and Beckett, with Revokes progressing ahead. And oh, there's contact between the pair. He was marvellous racing, but it reached boiling point through Maggots and Beckett, with them both going for a spin and dropping down the pack. Now Theo has an interest of 5th place on towards Stowe Corner. The Aston Martin manages to keep him at bay, but the Ferrari is going to look to the inside of the Vale chicane, and still the Aston Martin emerges ahead. We are being treated to some tremendous battles on the final few laps of this race. Eisensit and Theo ignited in battle for P5. And while Theo has an 18-second time penalty, he wants to finish ahead of the Aston Martin on road. It's a 3-way battle for 5th place on the road at the moment. But even with DRS, it doesn't seem like Theo is going to be able to get past. We are on the final lap of this race. Gupta leads by half a minute. He has one more tour of Silverstone to go, and it is going to be a home win for the Alpine. But Eisensit and Theo still ignited in battle, but Damas Baskets has an interest. Oh, Damas Basket then loses that interest as he goes for a spin through Maggots. He clouted the curb and he spins out of the battle. And as Revokes is passed by afterwards, he too has gone for a spin as well. It's all kicked off in the final few moments here at Silverstone, and then Damas Basket finds the end of his race. It's utter carnage at the end of this race, and then Grace Warrior goes for another spin. This is just madness, utter madness here at Silverstone. But Gupta, as his home faithful bow towards his brilliance, the sunny Silverstone has now taken over the stage, but Gupta, as he rounds club corner, there really is no place like home for the Alpine driver. He wins the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, and he excelled in the most tough testing and taxing of conditions. He's going to win comfortably ahead of Hydrant. Matsuvo will come home in third place, and it's going to be a change of the championship lead for the first time this season. Race Warrior has completed his race. He's already seen the checkers flag. Hornsby is relegated down into 9th. But Matsuvo, the final switch to the dry tyres just didn't go his way. But it's still a podium finish, and we are definitely glad to see him back in PFL. Anthony has now retired from the session with just a couple of corners to go. Is he going to be classified in the race result? We'll have to see. Eisensit is going to round the final corner. So yeah, Anthony doesn't look like he's going to drop behind Theo and Ardwood and Revokes and Hornsby and Gatekeeper. And as well as P4, he might not even be in the top 10 here at Silverstone. But Revokes then through the final couple of corners. It really has kicked off here at Silverstone. It's morphed into a race of attrition. And as Hornsby comes home for 7th, Revokes looks like he's going to take 8th place, but no, he is going to take 8th place then, ahead of Anthony. But all eyes are on the magnificence of Lil Gupta, who has pointed out that that is another Grand Slam. 2 Grand Slams in a row for the Alpine driver, and he is asserting his presence in this championship. So then, with just 2 races to go, Gupta has the initiative. And as he carries his steering wheel onto the podium, like I said, there is just no place like home for Gupta. He lifts the trophy, soaks the champagne, or soaks himself in champagne, and he is now your championship leader. So then, what another crazy, hectic race, particularly towards the end. We definitely did invest in some incalculable intrigue. But once more, it is Gupta who comes out on top by 34 seconds. So it's Hydrant 2nd, Matsuvo 3rd, Eisensit 4th in his first race in PFL. Tremendous job there from him, gaining 8 places in relation to his starting place. And then you can see Arbor's P5, Theo P6, Hornsby P7, Revokes 8. Anthony, despair for him, retiring from the race with just corners to go. And then Gatekeeper rounding out the points paying positions. So then, that was another hectic race. So then, with just 2 races to go, Gupta has the initiative. But can he be stopped? 3 wins in a row for the Alpine driver. If he can carry that momentum into Saudi Arabia next week, he could be crowned champion. Thank you all so very much for your company. Make sure you stick with us for the rest of the PFL action this weekend, particularly with the Tier 4 and 5 racing on Sunday. But until next time, it is goodbye from me.